This happened about 7 or 8 years ago. I was 16 or 17. I was with my sister, her husband, and her husband's sister, and 2 cousins. We were driving back from Cortez, going through the mountains near Steamboat, Arizona. It was late at night, and all we could see ahead of us was darkness and tall trees. We were driving a white pickup truck. I was sitting in the front with my sister and her husband, and the others were sitting in the back of the truck bed. All of a sudden, a coyote ran in front of us, so we said a prayer. When that happens, it's supposed to be bad luck. We were driving for I don't know how long when 3 or 4 more ran in front of us again. After that, we started seeing owls. Now, owls, those are very, very bad luck. It's said that when you see them, it means someone will get hurt bad in your family, but that's mainly just a Navajo thing. We saw like 6 of them, and the weird thing about that was there was 6 of us. So as the night grew darker, we pulled over. I jumped in the back, and one of the cousins got up front. We were about 5 minutes away from the house on a dirt road. We could even see the house, and we were going about 30 miles an hour when all of a sudden something big and black jumped in front of us. We hit that thing so hard that the front of the truck was completely smashed in. When we realized what had just happened, we got out of the truck and looked around. The weird thing about this is whatever it was jumped out on the right side of us, but there was this big fence there blocking the whole side. So after a few seconds of realizing what happened, we went in front of the truck and saw a few drops of blood and hair. We tried to get the truck started, but it wouldn't work, and only one of the headlights on the left side was working. So we shined the light out there, trying to look for whatever we hit, but we couldn't find anything. No footprints, no blood drops, nothing anywhere. Then all of a sudden, in the distance, we started hearing 2 people laughing and whistling, running around us and hiding in the shadows. We knew what it was, and we just started praying in Navajo. 15 minutes went by, and they were still there laughing, an evil, scary laugh. Then one of the guys we were with decides to run back to the house and get help, since we can see the house from where we're at. While we were waiting, we noticed that we could hear only one person around us. We were scared and didn't know what was going to happen. Then in the distance, we saw truck lights turning on and coming towards us. We were so happy. When they got there, the guy that ran to get help told us that one of the things was following him. He said he could hear it running in the shadows near him. He also said that while he was running by an empty water tank, he could hear the laughing echoing off the tank. When we got back to the house, we called the cops, but when they showed up, we told them what happened, so he told us to take him to where it happened. The truck was still parked there with one headlight on. The cop was flashing his light around looking for whatever we hit, but he couldn't find anything. No footprints walking off, nothing. I mean, we hit that thing so hard it should have just died, but we couldn't find it. While we were telling the officer what happened, we got this strong sense like he didn't want to be there. And we didn't either. The following day, we called in a medicine man and had ourselves blessed. I live in Pennsylvania, just outside the city of Reading. There's a lot of thick forests around here, but nothing ridiculous, and it's mostly suburbs where I am. Farther out is highway and farmland. Lucky for me, I live right up at the edge of a small community at the very top of a hill. The forest is literally across the street from me. Anyway, somewhere about a year ago, maybe 2, my dad and I were outside having a personal chat about some recent tough events going on in my house when suddenly we hear a weird sound in the forest across the road. We both stopped and looked over. "I didn't think deer came out this late," I said. My dad just stared at me, looking kind of confused. Then suddenly we heard someone yell. It sounded like they were saying help and that they were bleeding. We both sat there staring into the woods where it came from. My dad stood up and said to get inside. We both rushed in and I watched him run upstairs to grab his handgun. My dad's a rough sort of guy and always heads for his gun if he thinks something's going down. And something was definitely going down. I opened our back door again to our deck. It was a glass door, and peeked back towards the forest to see if anyone would come sprinting out or something. Keep in mind, we're at the edge of the suburbs and not exactly used to hearing people scream bloody murder in the middle of the night. Then I heard it. This loud, weird screech. It was like a cat or a woman, but it definitely wasn't human. It was weird, like it was high-pitched but not. And the sound filled the entire neighborhood for a full 10 seconds before it suddenly went silent. I slammed the glass door shut and ran to the stairs just in time to see my dad stomping down in boots with his pistol. "Did you hear that?" I remembered asking him. He nodded and we both headed out the front. By now a bunch of our neighbors were coming outside too. The scream was really fucking loud, but I didn't even expect all these people to come out this late. It was almost midnight. My dad went down to the street and looked up at the forest. Another guy came up to my dad and had some kind of handgun too. I watched them start chatting for a bit until suddenly another one of those screams pierced the air again. It was horrible and made me feel sick to my stomach. It went on for something like another 10 seconds and then just suddenly cut off. Like idiots, my dad and this random neighbor guy decide to point their guns towards the forest and head in. I couldn't believe it. I mean, my dad's a hunter and he's been doing it since he was a kid and he's almost 40. But there's no way I'd do something like that. They must have been in the forest for a good 20 minutes together, searching the darkness for God knows what. I sat outside with a bunch of neighbors that entire time, staring into the forest and waiting. Eventually they came back just fine. They stuck together the entire time according to my dad and thought they saw something like a tall guy in the forest at some point. When they tried to see if he was the one screaming, apparently he got on all fours and hauled ass into the forest. We were all pretty shaken up, but parted ways and headed back to our houses. It was pretty weird and no police or anything ever checked it out, but eventually we all moved past it. A long while after, there was a separate incident that didn't exactly connect to the first. Later that year, I was sitting outside with my friend on my back porch. We were talking and having a grand old time just messing around when I saw my cat Jinx pawing at my glass window. "What a stupid cat," my friend said. I agreed with him and played with the cat, putting my finger on the window while he pawed at my finger wherever it went. That's not what's weird though. Later that night, I was in my room playing a game with my window open. My cat was somewhere in the house, along with all of our dogs, so I know he was fine. Anyway, I was sitting there playing some games with my window open when I heard what sounds like a cat meowing outside. I paused my game wondering if Jinx had gotten outside. I went to my window to listen and I heard that meow again. But it was a long, deep one that you hear from a cat when they're pissed off and backed into a corner with their claws out. I recognized it wasn't my cat, but it was still coming from the woods behind my house, so I stared into them and tried to see where the stray was and what it was getting so mad at. The cat did that long, angry meow again, and it sounded sort of close to my actual yard. I heard some shuffling in the woods and then something weird happened. I thought I could hear someone talking, except it wasn't like a normal person's voice. It was like some mentally unstable person trying to mimic someone else really badly. It sounded like it was trying to say, "stupid cat," but it sounded very distorted. Immediately I got creeped out, but since my window was on the second floor, I felt fairly safe to keep listening. Then I realized the voice was changing. Stupid cat. It clicked. It sounded like something trying to sound like my friend, but doing a really, really bad job. Then there was a serious scuffle. I heard twigs breaking and the cat just going apeshit. I mean, it was really screeching and meowing like it was fighting for life or death. Then there was this loud thumping sound. It was like something big and heavy smacking against something else solid. After that, the meowing stopped completely and whatever was out there was dead silent. I was pretty creeped out by this point and I shut my window and had real trouble sleeping that night. Nothing's really happened since aside from one incident where I was getting a drink late one night and thought I saw someone crouching really super low on my back porch and looking into my glass door. Like I saw light reflected off of their eyes when you see an animal at night or something. The door was locked and it really freaked me out and made me sprint up to my room and wake up my dad. But he didn't find anyone or anything. I've been assuming it was just me being scared from all the previous occurrences. We had an encounter here that was like a cougar stalking us, but in a very human way. It was at one point walking on its hind legs, and it called my friend from the trees by name in a somewhat human lady voice. He didn't go to it, but came back to the fire from using the bathroom and was very scared. We were camping and staying the night, so we all stayed near the fire, then all slept together by it all night instead of in our tents. It was a pretty buggy mosquito night as well, which sucked and we all got bit up to hell. I saw the cougar all night long. In the trees, it watched us. None of us walked away from the fire to use the bathroom after that. We would just turn and pee sort of into a ditch nearby where everyone could see. I'm always armed when I go camping, but I was very afraid this time. This animal didn't seem natural. Not like a predator should be. This was on the res in Washington State. I've seen so many cougar here, I'm pretty used to them. But this one was very off. It seemed almost clever. It didn't really hide either. It just watched us. It didn't attack, run away, or anything. It walked on its hind legs from one big tree to another, just like a person, then would run up the tree. These animals are scary enough naturally, and to see one acting so strangely was a very bad feeling. I don't think it was really a cougar. Plus, my friend did say it said his name. It wasn't growling or anything like that, but like a regular woman's voice, and he was scared shitless. And he slept in the middle of us the entire night, so he would be the farthest from this animal. In the morning it was gone, and we never went back to that site again.